welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. Today it's Win Futrellens Shapiro. It has a nice little ring to it as well. Mr. Sharp will be back tomorrow, so have no worries. By the way, coming up on Friday, Danny Tarkanian, 2 hours in studio, mano y mano, Tarkanian versus Shapiro. It's going to be a nice little debate. So Danny will be in on Friday. On Thursday, this is going to be really cool. He's a friend of mine. Had a nice, I believe, 9-10-year career in the NBA at Iowa State. Was the college player of the year.
Number 2 pick overall, right?
Marcus,
the Chicago Bulls.
Marcus Fizer will be joining us in studio on Thursday, so that'll be a lot of fun as well. And as I mentioned, we got Ron Futrell, C. Wynn in studio. I want to get to this Michael Jackson.
Steve Wynn is in studio?
Did I say Steve Wynn? No.
No, you didn't.
No,
but I'm just saying that
nice
you say it so quickly.
I got a lot of free time in my hand now, Ron.
If there was
C. Wynn.
Why? Would you like to give him a massage?
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
$20 million the state got from him.
I know.
How about that?
702
Nice chunk of change
to
right
the general
there.
fund, yeah.
257-5396, 702-257-5396. Squeeze in a few calls here before we get to this Michael Jackson stuff. Let's start with JD. JD, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Great show as usual.
Thank
a lot better than that Basham guy. When I heard you on Saturday, I couldn't believe it. Normally, he won't debate anybody, and when somebody gets the best of him, he just hangs up.
See, I'm unfamiliar, JD. I'm going to be honest with you, and I appreciate you saying that. I'm unfamiliar with him. I was listening for 5 minutes. And I called in, and I like to support people that do shows at this station, And
hey, the reason I'm calling, last week I won those 2 tickets to that show, and I left my name and number with Johnny.
I will contact her. I haven't
heard anything.
I apologize for that. She will. You're talking about the show Sexy at Westgate. I will make sure Charlene gets in touch with you. She's a very busy lady, but we know that you won, so don't worry. I'll make sure you get.
I'm not worried at all.
Okay, we'll make sure you get taken care of, JD. I promise you.
And keep up the good work.
All right.
Because, your show, when you debate people and give everybody a fair shot to talk, that makes a show. When you cut people off like some other host in mid-sentence or whatever.
Well, I do that.
That's not a show. That's a dictator.
Well, I do that, though, when somebody says something stupid. I try to give people a fair shake.
You don't want to be like Trump and be a dictator.
Well, that's true. JD, we certainly agree on that.
And I love whenever you have Ron on, and I wish a little critical to Chris. Ron knows a lot more than you do, so let him talk more.
See?
Wait. I'm on board. JD, you're 100% right. Ron is more knowledgeable than I am.
Yeah,
they're going to cut
back.
Hey,
take
JD.
a back seat to him and let him talk.
Yes, but you know me. I like to hog the microphone, JD. That's what I do. That's how I live.
You're very rude.
Yes.
They're going to cut me off before too long.
Wait, hold on a second.
Whoa.
Wait,
No,
hold on.
I'm not rude. JD,
hold on.
I'm not rude. I'm not even rude to you, JD. Come on now.
JD, I want to let you guys go at it. I am gonna back up from the microphone. JD just called Chris rude. Go ahead, guys.
Okay, so JD, so now I'm gonna break. I gotta ask a political question to JD. It's a quick one. It's a quick response from him. JD, what do you think about all this security clearance stuff going on with President Trump and his son-in-law Jared Kushner and his daughter Ivanka? Do you think that there's some shenanigans going on there?
Well, first of all, they're getting 81. They want to talk to 81 people. I think the only person they left off is the janitor of Trump Towers. So that's ridiculous in itself.
Give him time.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
Give him time. That'll happen.
So that's ridiculous in itself. As you know, Chris, he has the authority to do certain things that every president did. Unfortunately, when he uses that authority, he's getting called on it. Please, let's run the country. Let's be magnanimous. Let's see some statesmen in the country. Let's see some Republicans do some things that, for example, the 13 Republicans that voted against them, they're voting for themselves. Let's see some Democrats emerge as a statesman somewhere. The country is number one. I don't care if you hate Trump. I don't care if you hated Obama. We were still the United States of America first. And until these people in Washington realize that they're there to make the country safe, number one, and do the things that make the country safe, then we're not going to have a good country. So
all right, let's let rude Chris respond.
I enjoy JD's stream of thought there, and he's absolutely speaking in positive terms regarding where we would like to be here as a country. But the question was was about the security clearances, right? About President Trump.
He could do whatever he wants.
But it's his son-in-law, JD, and it's his daughter. There's that word nepotism that comes into play, and that's why why there's criticism. That's why there's been a debate.
I know you're too young to remember John F. Kennedy and his brother, Attorney General Robert Kennedy. I know you probably don't remember.
I don't.
They wiretapped.
I was born in 1970, JD, so no, I don't remember that.
They wiretapped Martin Luther King, by the way.
Did they really?
Oh, did they really? Oh, yes.
I wasn't alive. I don't remember.
JFK and RFK illegally wiretapped Martin Luther King to try to get dirt on him.
That was a long time ago.
No, they're great people.
Yes.
Oh, what
JD,
a great president.
Who said he was great? I didn't say that.
JD,
no,
good to hear from you. Always like it when
Yes.
JD and C-Wing get into it. It's always good radio. Let's go to Dave.
I'm not rude, am I? Am I rude?
No, I don't think you are. I'm rude, though. Let's go to Dave. Dave, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Good, man. Hey, guys. You're never rude, Brian. You're never rude.
Brian?
I respectfully disagree.
I've listened since day one. I don't think I've ever heard a rude note come out of your mouth.
That's
hey,
definitely
Ron,
not true.
Ron, great job. Ron, I know. I'm just kidding. Ron, great job in filling in as JD. It's spot on.
Thank you. I'm not.
Chris?
I'm no replacement, but I'll try my best.
Yes.
And Chris,
Yes.
I get all three of you guys tonight. What brilliance.
I appreciate
And
that.
I do want to say, Brian, going back to before the sports part, that I
Yes.
do love it when you shovel coal into inarticulate Republican callers.
That is a perfect description right there, by the way.
It's so funny, Dave.
Of what actually does go down when Brian Shapiro is lining up the callers as they speak.
Look,
it's great stuff.
I always try to be honest on the air. I don't mind a good debate or people that disagree, but when somebody calls up and they automatically assume I'm on the left, or that woman who calls up and she says, I believe she just accused me of not being too emotional and not being factual. I asked her 6 or 7 times in the phone call to name one thing I said, and she says one thing that wasn't factual, and she says, well, everything, and she didn't come up with one specific detail.
Margaret is so in your head right now, Brian. You're going to go to sleep tonight thinking of Margaret. You're going to you wake up in the morning thinking of Margaret. She got into your head, man.
Listen, in
Trump
the morning,
is in your head. Margaret's in your head.
Ron,
you know what
they're
got
all
him
in
fired?
your
You know
head.
what got him fired up, Ron, was that she basically called him a liar on the radio.
Ron,
He didn't like that.
Here's where Ron's wrong. I think of a lot of women in the morning, but Margaret will not be on my list. Okay? Go ahead, Dave.
I hope not.
Yeah, no problem.
I hope not.
Somebody doesn't try to serve you a margarita tonight. When you go home.
Margarita. Da-da-da.
I got to say this about the pug trash'em. Brian, the earlier caller, Brian, he was spot on. Pug trash'em. Pug trash'em is a Canadian magician that makes the truth disappear for 2 hours every Saturday.
I see. Okay, I was unaware of that.
anyway,
I was unaware.
I'm tied up all my time as it is. I'll just leave it with this. I was breathlessly awaiting. I know you're keeping it close to the vest, but when is the home version of the Vegas take coming out?
What do you mean by that? What do you mean home
The
version?
home version, so we can play at
along.
home. You
Play
know,
along at home.
Well,
you remember like the game shows you have the home version. So when you're out,
all I
with
can
just the
tell
fans, you can just do it yourself.
Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of doing it yourself, but that's another story for another show. But as far as podcasting, we have our own SoundCloud page, The Vegas Take, and we also post a lot of our shows on our Twitter page at The Vegas Take. So if you miss a show or you want to replay something of me calling somebody a buffoon or a clown, you could listen to that. So check us out also on our website, tvtradio.com. So I gave you 3 sources there where you can follow the show and we and The Vegas Take Facebook page as well. So there you go. There's 4 of them.
Excellent. That's what I needed, man. Hadn't heard in a while.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work, guys.
Thank you, Dave.
Great entertainment tonight.
I appreciate that, Dave. That means a lot. Thank you very, very much. All right, so let's move. I'm sorry, Dave. We cut you off there. That's okay. It's all right, Dave.
Cut off another caller, a friendly caller
that
to
was,
you.
Yeah,
You cut him off?
Well, I didn't do that. That was Ken. So he just no. Ken is not perfect. He makes mistakes once in a while. Usually, Ken's very, very good at what he does, by the way. But sometimes when I do this cutoff sign where it's like,
I've seen you do that a few times. You did it to Margaret.
I do.
Remember Margaret?
Yes, I remember.
You do remember her. Okay, just making sure you remember her.
I will not remember her in the morning, though.
Let's take line 42. I think line 42 sounds good. What do you think?
Let's not.
Do we have a?
What did you say? You wanted to do lines?
Line 42.
Oh, I thought you said you wanted to do lines. Okay.
What are they going to do? No,
you have some white powder next to your nose.
If
That's
they
the
ban
Ron
all
Burgundy side of him right there. That's what it is.
If they ban all the straws in California, what are they going to use?
Speaking of
What are they
California,
gonna use?
Rolled up dollar bills.
Okay, but
That's what they always use anyway.
Yeah.
Speaking of California, let's move on to another subject here quickly, if I may. I talked a little bit about this Michael Jordan. Why do I keep saying that?
That's 4 times in 2 days.
Michael Jackson. I don't know why I keep doing that.
Yes.
This Michael Jackson leaving Neverland story, pretty brutal to watch. I watched the first part of it on Sunday night, and I said to myself, I don't know if these two alleged victims are credible or not. I'm 50-50 on it. I don't know if Michael Jackson ever abused a child. And then I watched yesterday, and I learned more evidence and more emotion. And these mothers just, made these moms of these victims look really bad too, and rightfully so. But with that being said, I did a little work in investigating because a lot of people are trying to go after the credibility of these two men who were children when this allegedly happened. Look, we all know Michael Jackson has slept with a lot of boys in bed, and a lot of horrible things that he's done. But look, he admits that he slept with boys in bed, and he did a special about 8-9 years ago, a TV special, and he was asked about
Martin
that.
Brashear.
Yes, correct. Martin Brashear asked him this question and asked him, about sleeping with boys in the bed, and here's what Michael Jackson had to say.
But I have slept in the bed with many children. I sleep in the bed with all of them. When Macaulay Culkin were little, Kieran Culkin would sleep on this side. Macaulay Culkin's on this side. His sister's in there. We're all just jamming the bed. And we wake up like dawn and go in the hot air balloon. We have the footage. I have all that footage.
But is that right, Michael?
It's very right. It's very loving. That's what the world needs now. More love, more. The world needs a man who's 44 sleeping in a bed with children. No, you're making it all wrong.
Well, tell me, help me.
Because what's wrong with sharing love? You don't sleep with your kids or some other kid who needs love, who didn't have a good childhood?
No, I don't. I would never dream.
Yeah, so if you don't think that's bizarre, and now let me add on to this, okay? Besides, sleeping with kids 30 nights in a row in some cases with 13-year-old Jordy Chandler, 5 boys Michael Jackson, I did it again, shared beds with, have accused him of abuse, okay? Now, if that's not enough, there was one specific, Jackson had apparently an extensive collection of adult erotic material he kept in a suitcase next to his bed, photos of a study of naked boys, okay? So he had that next to his bed. If that's not weird enough, a hallway leading to Jackson's bedroom was a serious security zone covered by video and wired for sound so that steps of anyone approaching would make ding-dong sounds, okay? One kid described his genitalia so specifically. He had markings. He had a skin disease, something on his genitalia. He wrote it out, this kid, and then investigators proved when they took pictures of Michael Jackson's genitalia that it was true. A person who worked at Neverland Ranch, a lady who was a maid there, said that on many occasions she saw Michael Jackson showering nude with young boys. Now, even if you think that Michael Jackson didn't abuse sexually children, to me that is abuse, by the way, even if you didn't think he sexually assaulted these young boys, at the very least, he should have been prosecuted for that alone. I have no doubt in my mind, that he sexually abused children based on all this information. There were these kids' fingerprints on this porn that he had next to his bed. Just because he didn't sexually abuse Macaulay Culkin or Corey Feldman does not mean that he did not sexually abuse all these other people. It's one thing to be a weirdo, okay? Prince was a weirdo, but one thing Prince never did was sexually abuse children. Michael Jackson, in my opinion, is a horrible human being. I don't care the abuse that he sustained when he was a child. Many children, unfortunately, have been abused. They don't turn into be sexual molesters themselves. I don't care if Michael Jackson is dead or not. We can talk about this. I believe these two people that did this, and I understand that they didn't tell the truth when they were on the stand because they tried to protect Michael. In a way, I'm starting to understand that. They didn't get paid any money to do this special. They actually filed a lawsuit, and the judge sent it away. So there's nothing money in this for these two individuals. And when Michael Jackson's family defends this guy, they should be ashamed of themselves. How can you defend this behavior, even if he didn't sexually abuse somebody, which I think is a ridiculous stretch? And I'll take some calls on this at 257-5396, 702-257-5396. I absolutely believe that Michael Jackson was a pedophile.
It is worth noting, though, Brian, that you have taken a turn on this, right? Because just as recently as yesterday, you're talking about one of the gentlemen and saying that you didn't believe that his motivation was true, and that there was some shenanigans going on in regards to his lawsuits that he was taking and the money situation with him. And so this is kind of a 180 for you in that direction, which is interesting.
I haven't seen the HBO stuff. Okay, let me throw this question out there. What do you do if you're Mandalay Bay and you got Michael Jackson's show there? No, seriously. Think about that for a second.
Question.
Think about that for a second.
You think, you know what you do, Ron? You probably think very seriously about canceling it, because this is not. This is one. Look, this is terrible.
Here's why
you're going down a road. They're going down a road here where it's almost like it doesn't matter what kind of iconic status he had. It doesn't matter.
That's a valid question.
He's a great entertainer. So yes, I think you think it's a discussion that the people at MGM Grand.
Valid question. Good question.
Have.
Here's why I would keep the show. There's a couple different reasons. Even if first of all, you're employing a lot of people. It's a very successful show.
They'll put another show there. They'll do another. They will come up with another show. Another show. They'll fill that stage. Okay,
it's a tough question, but here's the problem. He's never been prosecuted. He paid somebody off. I still believe he's guilty, 100%. Just like I think O.J. Simpson is a double murderer.
Right. I'm not saying you force them to. Nobody would not force them, but
I understand what you're
public
saying.
relations.
Yeah.
Okay, MGM also let Floyd Mayweather fight there and made a lot of money off Floyd Mayweather. He was conviced, by the way.
Yeah, Floyd Mayweather was actually convicted, and
he was convicted,
and so he is. Yeah, so that's a little bit different.
Numerous occasions, again, I'm not saying that they should get rid of Michael Jackson's show or not have. I'm just raising the point of MGM.
That's a very
in this politically correct. Now we've gone, I think, too far politically.
Where's that
correct.
show, by the way?
It's at Mandalay Bay.
I would love to get somebody from the PR department that would be willing to.
It's called Michael Jackson 1, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I've seen the show, and I'm going to be honest with you, it's a great show. Here's the way I feel about this stuff. Okay, obviously, when I separate stuff, I'm talking about from music. Look, the man was an unbelievable, entertainer, musician. I could still walk into a music store right now and buy one of his albums, and I wouldn't feel bad about it because I'm doing it for me. I'm buying music because I enjoy listening to Michael Jackson music. I can separate that from the person that he was, and I think he was a complete lying scumbag and a pedophile. But with that being said, again, the issue is, he paid off one kid, I think $24 million. One of the kids described his genitalia. We have someone there that said that he showered with boys naked. He had porn on the side of his bed. See, people don't want to talk about this that support Michael Jackson. Child porn or at least, study of naked boys, call it what you want, on the side of his bed. To me, I absolutely think he was a pedophile. Let's take a couple calls on this at 257-5396. Let's go to Ellie.
Dead people need publicists.
Yeah, well,
right? No, they need publicists. It's crazy.
It makes the point,
especially when you're dead.
Though, Brian,
you need publicists.
It makes the point. What you're saying makes the point. He's passed away. He'll never be charged with anything, gentlemen. He's never going to be convicted as a felon in this area. So that needs to be taken into consideration.
I agree.
It's never going to happen.
I agree. Let's take some calls at 257-5396. What do you think about this Michael Jackson stuff? Do you agree, disagree with us in studio? Let's go to Elle. Elle, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you?
Hi, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
Let me just say quickly about Danny Tarkanian. When he's on, I'm glad it's 2 hours. Don't protect him, Brian, the way you always do. You won't let people. You remember when Michael Cohen said, those who follow blindly, and that's what he's doing, are going to end up just like
Here's
that.
what I'm going to do.
Now,
Here's what I'm going to do. Hold on. Let me respond to that.
Okay.
And I appreciate you saying that. I'm going to have him in for 2 hours. At the beginning of the show, I'm going to say, don't take anything personal, Danny. Can we have a debate without you? Because I know that he doesn't like to be interrupted. I don't either. But I can promise you this. I'm not going to hold back on Friday. I promise you.
Don't hold back, and
No, I
don't
won't.
let us hold back.
I won't.
He's a blind follower, and
Okay.
he's going to end up like Michael Cohen.
Fair
Now,
enough.
Michael Jackson.
Yes.
You know what? I think my thoughts are, instead of blaming him, these parents who were obviously, I don't know if they were starstruck, if they were getting paid to do this, they put their children at risk.
See, and that's what I like about the special, Elle, because I don't know if you watched the special, but a lot of criticism about these two moms. The fathers were not there. So it was the moms that I can't even imagine. It's one of the victims' brothers that said this about his own mom, which I thought was incredible. About his own mom. He said, I cannot believe our mother, I'm paraphrasing here, I cannot believe our mother let her son, who at the time was 8, 9, 10 years old, sleep in a bed alone with a grown man in Michael Jackson, and she did nothing about it. They criticized these moms.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, and that's why.
Where the blame.
Yeah.
And we all knew what he was doing. He was strange. To him, maybe this was just love and spreading the love. I would not put my son, unless he said we both could come in. Now,
Yeah.
I might have wanted the money.
That's
but
different.
Let us both.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's just the parents are at fault for this. So I think the son, they're putting their blame in the wrong place. And it's just really sad. The whole thing
I
is
agree.
creepy.
I agree, Elle. I appreciate your call, and I hope you call back on Friday when Danny Tarkanian is in. Thank you very much. We got to squeeze in a couple more calls here, guys. Let's go to Chad. Chad, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Hi, guys. I was just listening to your talking about Michael Jackson. You know, everybody knows that guy was weird. You know, I personally think that the guy had such a weird childhood that he grew up thinking he was a kid still.
Okay, so can I ask you a question then,
good
Chad?
point.
Chad,
You know, like,
I agree. Chad,
He did have that mentality.
Chad,
He did.
That's not an excuse. But yeah.
I don't. Chad,
I heard that interview you played from this guy, and he's
Yes.
talking about sleeping with kids.
yes.
I personally don't think any of that's right.
Chad, so let me ask you a question. You make valid points, and you might be right. I'm not 100% sure on this, but how can you explain young kids naked in a magazine next to Michael Jackson's bed? How can you explain having a shower nude, okay, with a child? How can you?
No.
He's not
You
excusing
didn't hear
him.
me right.
Brian,
I
he's
don't
not
agree
making.
with
He's
any
not.
of that.
Brian, he's not making a case for Michael Jackson.
Okay, I misheard
He's
then, Chad.
agreeing with us.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I'm sorry.
No, I'm
No,
saying
but-
I like his music, but
Right,
you know,
right.
that's about it.
Chad,
That's as weird as it comes.
Chad,
Brian
Chad,
wanted to start an argument with you.
No, Chad, I apologize.
Yes.
Chad, that's my fault. I misheard you.
Joe, the
He
dad.
wanted to go.
Yeah.
Shap was ready to roll, and he wanted to start it up with him.
Chad, when you do 2 hours of radio, your brain fizzles a little bit. I apologize.
And then when you hear callers call up and they'll take up for him,
Yeah.
you know, I just can't take up for that.
Yeah, I agree, Chad. And you know what? Did you watch the HBO special, by the way?
I watched it.
What'd you think about it?
Too weird.
Yeah.
Too weird for me.
You know what I
It
noticed?
was really sad to
Yeah.
see
Unless
that guy was living in like a dream world, thought he was in a fairy tale.
Chad, unless these victims, alleged victims, and family members are the best actors and actresses in the world, you could see it, Chad, couldn't you? There was a lot of raw emotion, and you could tell that these guys are not right. And that's what I perceive from all this. And, you know, Oprah Winfrey's taken a lot of crap, too, which I think is completely ridiculous. I know Oprah was never a big Jackson family supporter, but the fact that some of these it's just like the O.J. Simpson stuff, right? People outside the O.J., trial were trying to defend him and saying what a great guy he was. It's like, come on, you guys have zero credibility.
Exactly.
Yeah. Chad, hey, it's good to hear from you, my friend. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate it. Yes. Sorry about that. I kind of
That was great. You were setting it. You were ready to get rolling, wasn't he, Ron? He was not afraid to have the debate. He wanted to get going.
Oh, he
Big
goes.
time.
Yeah.
Do you guys? Okay, so now we have a few minutes to breathe here.
Okay.
Do you guys agree with me on this stuff? What do you guys think?
I didn't see the special.
But
So,
based on what I just told you.
Here's yes. Based on what absolutely, you can't not agree. No, that's as easy as taking the planet is to say Michael Jackson's a freak, and his dad did horribly abuse him. Okay,
Joe Jackson.
His Joe Jackson lived here in town before he died. He did horribly abuse him, and there's that cycle. Yes, needs to end. You could say there's no excuse for allowing it to continue, but I like what that last caller said. He really didn't grow up. He never was given the opportunity to grow up. He not only did not have a normal childhood, but here's the difference. Okay, let's go through the two families: the Osmond family, okay, and the Jackson family at the same time, growing up on TV, and you see where parents raise kids. Now, I'm not saying they're perfect, but parents raise kids in a healthy family, what the result is, and an abusive family, what the result is, and it ruins generations. Just absolutely, if you don't get it fixed. You don't get, and you can get it fixed. If you don't get it fixed, it ruins generations.
Well, the dynamic is very different when it comes to the Jackson family and the Osmond family. Obviously,
Oh no, yeah,
given, it's not even just about race. It's about one was raised in Utah as a Mormon family. The other was raised poor in Gary, Indiana. So, but I get you. I understand what you're saying. But in regards to Michael Jackson, look, the interviews, of course, with Martin Bashir, which was a part of Michael Jackson's life before his death, and then leading up when he's living in Las Vegas and all that time period later on. But there's also the interview, of course, with Ed Bradley. Everybody remembers with 60 Minutes, where Ed Bradley basically asked him the same question that Martin Bashir did in regards to sleeping with kids in beds, and he still had the same weird responses. So yes, there is this strange dynamic with Michael Jackson as far as how he led his life and the type of person that he was. But what really is the kicker for me This is what the kicker is. The kicker is that these accusers are bringing up just gruesome and goring details.
Like, it's really
details
bad.
that you would just not make up. Okay, if you were just in a situation with Michael for a few years where it was a loving situation, you just happened to maybe you slept in the same bed a couple days or whatever, or a week straight. Nothing happened. These details are what I think are a smoking gun.
And what I don't
make
like
it very difficult.
is just because Macaulay Culkin or Corey Feldman comes out and says, "Oh, he didn't do anything to me," and people automatically assume, "Oh, well, then he must not be a child molester." No, that's nonsense. Just because he didn't do anything with them doesn't mean he didn't do anything with anyone else. Being weird and being
I didn't rob a bank today, by the way. But if I rob a bank tomorrow,
you must be doing okay financially.
But if I rob a bank tomorrow, what am I? I'm a bank robber.
Exactly.
But in fact, I drove by 40. I drove by 40 banks today and didn't rob a single one of them. In fact, for my entire life, I have never once robbed a bank.
You see what a great analogy that was? Only Ron Futrell could come up with an analogy.
If I rob one tomorrow, I'm a bank robber.
There you go. Don't rob a bank, Ron.
You don't get credit for not robbing banks.
Don't rob a bank, because I want you to come in. I want you to come in next week. Good job, Ken, on the controls. Chris Wynn, always appreciate it when you come in. Thank you so much. The legend himself, Ken Thompson, coming up next. Tomorrow on the show, Jamison Walsh from Drive Time Sports going to be joining us in studio. And we will continue to monitor what is going on at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Yes, I have a feeling we'll be talking about Ron Futrell's best friend, Donald J. Trump. So we will be talking about him tomorrow on the show. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Really appreciate it. Check us out on Twitter at The Vegas Take. Ken Thompson coming up next on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDWN.